So the advice I always give them is there's three areas you need to be spending your time: working in your business, working on your business, and investing. I'm not worried about working in your business because your desire to live indoors and have food on the table will make you go work in your business. That's going to make you go do what earns your business money, what your clients pay for.
Hmm.
What I tell people is make sure to set aside some time, some focused time on your calendar for the other two, for working on your business and investing.
Hey everyone, this is Devin Miller here with another episode of The Inventive Journey. I'm your host, Devin Miller, the serial entrepreneur that's grown several startups into 7 and 8 figure businesses, as well as the founder and CEO of Miller IP Law, where he helps startups and small businesses with their patents and trademarks. If you ever need help with yours, just go to strategymeeting.com, grab some time with us to chat, and we're always here to help. Now, today we've got another great guest on the podcast, Ben Anderson. And Ben is started out his journey going to BYU or Brigham Young University and getting a finance degree. Graduated around 2010, and there wasn't a lot of job prospects, so he decided to start a couple of his own businesses, including one that was teaching STEM to kids, and also another one that doing athletic clothing business. Neither business ended up taking off or doing as well as expected. So, but he learned a lot along the way and learned he loved the numbers, but hated the marketing and sales side of the business. And so went off and got a accounting master's degree from the University of Utah, and then graduated and started his own CPA firm. So, with that much as an introduction, welcome on the podcast, Ben.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Excited to have you on. So I just gave a quick run through to a much longer journey, but why don't we rewind and unpack things a bit and tell us a little bit about how your journey got started, getting your finance degree from BYU.
Well, yeah, that's interesting hearing 15 years of my life summed up in 30 seconds like that. Okay. Yeah, so like you said, finance degree at BYU. I knew I enjoyed the numbers. I knew I enjoyed making the numbers tell a story. So finance seemed like a good fit for me. And then, as you mentioned, yeah, I graduated in 2010. Great economy at the time. You know, and the Great Recession caused by finance majors. So we were really doing great um,
I
in
think at
that
that point in
economy.
time, people disliked you even more than lawyers,
Yeah,
which is saying something. So
yeah. You're welcome for that. Few minutes of reprieve that you had
reprieve,
there. But
exactly.
yeah, we were not well loved, and I was also at that time, going through a divorce. So just not in a good place to be looking for a job. uh, you know, a year or two out of college, and I, still waiting tables because things aren't going so great for me.
Hmm.
So yeah, I took some jobs in there to make ends meet. Mostly jobs that, like I said, I was going through a divorce. I needed to focus on getting my life back together. So jobs that didn't really require a whole lot of brain power. So I was a mailman for a few years, a few other things along the way. And then, like you mentioned, I started a few of my own businesses. They generally started off as kind of side gigs with the intention of, hey, the side gig's going to grow into, a full-time thing. So you
Just
mentioned
walk us through what were
Mhm.
those side gigs that you were doing. I certainly understand, hey, making ends meet, got to pay the bills, and then having the
Yep.
intent of this is not my long-term goal, and so I'm going to start the side gigs, hopefully with the intent of getting a full-time business out of them. But as you started those out, kind of walk us through, or what were some of those side gigs?
Yeah. So one of them, you mentioned teaching STEM to kids. That one was a little bit more than just a side gig. That was probably 20 hours a week of my time. And in that one, we taught after school programs. We had summer camps going,
Hmm.
uh, just kind of all sorts of things, teaching kids everything from go build a model rocket to designing their own basic video game. We did a lot with robotics and teach the kids how to build and program these little robots and have little robot wars.
Hmm.
All sorts of fun activities like that. Uh, that one, we made it about a year or so, and then I learned from that these Utah families that have 12 kids, there's a great big market. They're not willing to spend a whole lot of money on their kids, so we kind of had a
Mm.
hard time with income and cash flow there because the parents were just not happy to spend money on their 12 kids like you'll get in a little bit different market. So kind of ran out of cash there. You also mentioned athletic clothing. So I've throughout many iterations, I've gotten into different types of athletics. For a while, I was a runner. I know that you're also quite a bit of a runner. Uh, so when I was doing that, that was probably, I don't know, 10 years ago,
Mm.
that I got into that project. I was running in the morning because I had small kids. That was the only time I could get out the door and get some miles under me.
Mm.
So I'm running it, early morning. It's still dark outside, so I'm running with, I've got my shirt on, I've got a reflective vest over it so that I don't get run over by passing cars. And then I also, I want to take my phone with me, so I had a third, this little pocket sleeve thing, and I say, hey, that's, why am I using three different pieces of equipment between my waist and my neck?
Mm.
And each one cost $20 plus. So I went and designed a shirt that had, it was an athletic shirt, built into it, reflective material, all the logos and quite a bit of items on it were reflective, and then a pocket built into the sleeve. At that time, generally speaking, women would be running with, their yoga pants. They'd slide their phone in their yoga pants pocket, but men didn't have really an equivalent. These days now, you can find a lot more options, but at the time, I was really kind of the only one doing that. Had a lot of fun with it. Loved that business. That one was more in the side gig because my sales were mostly. I would go to before a marathon. The day before they've got your packet pickup, and you go pick up your bib number and all that kind of stuff. I was selling at those events.
Mm.
So great opportunity for the customers to pick it up, feel it, see it, understand it a little bit better than they could seeing it online. But after about five or six of those, I noticed I was seeing the same people over and over and over again. At the same, all these Utah marathons, I would go from one to the other, keep seeing the same customers, and either they bought from me the first time or they weren't going to buy anymore.
Mm.
So that one didn't really run out quite like the STEM for kids where I ran out of cash or anything. That one I kind of decided, hey, am I willing to take this national? Am I willing to put in the time to scale this up? And decided no. So I kind of wound that one down on my own. Took my modest profit I made from it and said, this isn't one I'm gonna fight to scale. So rather than scaling it up, let's wrap it up.
Hmm. No, and it makes sense. And it's kind of one of those where to agree, almost saturate the marketplace. In other words, hey, the people that are interested or willing to buy the product, at least within the defined geographic location, they bought the product or decided they don't want it. And so once you hit that kind of
Yeah.
saturation, market's no longer there, and it makes sense to move on. So now you've done a couple of those businesses. One
Mm-hmm.
had a little bit of success, made a bit of income from it, but saturated the market. The other one didn't work out quite as well. And so I think within that, when we chatted a bit before, you basically indicated, hey, found out that don't love the marketing and sales side of it, like the finance side of it a lot more. And so you went back and pursued a additional degree. Is that right?
Yes, sir. So just like you said, yep, I decided, hey, you know what? I am not a fan of marketing, of sales. If you are, great, good on you, go for it. But that was just didn't fit with me. So just like you said, yep, I went back and got a master's in accounting because the numbers part of those businesses made sense to me. I could tell a story from those numbers that most people couldn't see. So I got my master's in accounting. Came out of that knowing I wanted to start my own accounting firm, right? I knew I have that desire to be my own boss, to run my own business. So I'm gonna start my own accounting firm, but coming out of a degree, you can't go straight from graduation day to starting your own firm. So I took a few other jobs in there. Those jobs were always focused on the final goal of starting my own firm. So took a job at another public accounting firm because I needed to know how to run a public accounting firm. Took a job when I was studying to pass my CPA. Hey, I need a job that is not stressful, that I don't take anything home, at the end of the day.
Hmm.
So again, focused, that job was focused on, I need something easy so I can focus my time on studying for the CPA exam. Uh, you know, so I had 3 or 4 jobs in there that were all focused on, hey, the goal is to get to starting my own firm.
Hmm.
So that was about 3 or 4 years of that. Got my CPA license, got the experience at a CPA firm, got some cash set aside for the project. And so about 13, 14 months ago said, now's the time, let's pull the trigger, and
So now,
hung up
just
my own
just
shingle.
to embellish or to dive into that a bit more, so it
Uh-huh.
sounds like, putting words in your mouth, but certainly feel free to correct me if you're wrong. You kind of went in getting the financing degree, really saying, "Hey, I want to start my own firm," or that's the direction you wanted to head. Was that kind of the intent from the get go, or was it working for someone else, or kind of just walk us through that a bit more?
So when I went back for the master's degree, I went in knowing I want to own my own firm. I knew that there would be in the short term, of course, I'm going to have to get jobs to get the experience I need to be able to do that. But I went into it 100% expecting 5 to 10 years after graduation, I'm going to own my own firm.
Hmm. So now you come out, you say, okay, intent is I'm going to own my own firm. Graduated, decided, okay, I'm starting out, I'm going to get that set up and going. Now, was it everything that you wanted, anticipated, worked out awesome, and took off and was a lot of success? Or was it one where, hey, it struggled along, or it was always teetering on the verge of bankruptcy, didn't know where the next paycheck was coming from, or money was raining down from the skies, or kind of, I know it's a little bit over a year in, so it's kind of walk us through over how that first year has gone with the business.
Right. Yeah. So when I was in somebody else's firm, working as an employee in somebody else's firm, there were a few things that just bothered me, and so that was where I focused my efforts when I started my own firm. I said, here are these 2 things that really bothered me about public accounting. Right, the bill by the hour system, which I don't mean to step on the toes of the lawyer who also bills by the hour, I'm sure. But that really bothered me because it always said, hey, if I as your accounting consultant, if I take more time, I get more money. So it kind of made the incentive for me to work slower, not faster. That never really made sense to me. You wouldn't have that same incentive in any other industry, right? If I'm in a factory and, oh, you know what, all of a sudden stuff is taking longer because our machinery is wearing out. I don't get to go raise my prices to the customer, right? That's my problem, not theirs. So that never made sense to me. The other part that never made sense was we were kind of leaving the smaller clients by the wayside, right? Obviously, the big bosses, they want the big clients bringing in $1,000 a month. But if I, as an individual working on your account, if I save the big client $1,000 on his taxes, he doesn't even care. It's a rounding error.
Hmm.
But if I go save the small businessman or the individual, self-employed individual $1,000 on their taxes, that's a huge deal. And so those were the 2 things when I left to start my own firm. I said, no, I'm going to focus on the small fish in the big pond that often get overlooked by other firms, and I'm not going to bill by the hour. I hate those two concepts, so that's what I'm going to change. So left, started my own practice. And it's been neither of what you described. It's not neither been money raining down, nor we're teetering on the edge of bankruptcy.
Hmm.
I came into it with some cash set aside, knowing, hey, 6 months, I'm not going to have any client, right? It's going to take a while to build that up. So dipped into the savings a bit, but at this point, it's sustainable, is what I would say. It's neither cash raining down, nor am I worried about putting food on the table.
Hmm.
Uh, right now, it's very um, I lost my train of thought there in the middle of that
No,
sentence.
you're good. And it was kind of, it sounds like when you were going along, it was, hey, money wasn't raining down from the skies, weren't here on the verge of bankruptcy. And, you're continuing to build a business, find some attraction, some success. And as with most of the time, when you're getting going with the startup or small business, you're having to iterate, you're having to adjust, figure out who the clients are, whether it's, maybe not the big businesses, but it's the startups and the small businesses that every penny, counts, and it has a lot more impact. And so it sounds like you're as you're figure that out, continue to figure out and gain that traction, continuing to expand and grow the opportunity. So it sounds like a great opportunity, and continuing forward, it will be or continue to be a great opportunity. And so now, if you were to kind of look out to the next 6 to 12 months, as you were to say where things are headed, or what's the next steps or goals, kind of where do you see things are those headed?
Yeah, so in the accounting world, we tend to get a big influx of clients right around April is very common. So I would, for the next few months, I expect it to be kind of the same. Uh, and then I'll probably add another 50% on top of what client base next April. And so we kind of get that wave of, everyone comes in April, and then they peter out throughout the year. And then, you get another big bump. So I'm expecting to be riding that wave for the next couple of years. I don't know that I'll ever get to the point where it's raining down money, because, like I said, I'm focused on these small clients who pay less. I recognize that I'm leaving money on the table there, and maybe I'm being a little bit idealistic or naive about that, but that's who I want to serve. That's who I want to work with. So I expect some steady growth over the next few years, but I'm never going to get to Lamborghini money.
Well, you never know. Maybe one day you'll get to the Lamborghini money and you'll be able to retire on an island, and things will go well beyond wildest dreams. But until then, yeah, having a business that you enjoy, that pays the bills, puts foods on the table, and that has a good outlook is certainly a great direction to be headed in. So it sounds like you've found a great opportunity for yourself. So now with that, so now as we've kind of reached the present day of the journey, and even look into a bit into the future, great time to transition to the two questions I always like to ask towards the end of each episode. So we'll jump to those now. So the first question I'd like to ask is, along your journey, what was the worst business decision you ever made? What'd you learn from it?
So with the STEM classes to the kids, with that business that I was running, or teaching after school, I went into that completely way too optimistic. I knew I was going to be a millionaire in 2 years. So day one, first thing I did is, I'm not a teacher, so I went and hired a bunch of teachers. Hey, in your off hours, you want to pick up some extra income, come work for us teaching these STEM classes. Great fit, except I would, like I said, way too optimistic, and came out of that with, hey, 6 months in, I'm having a hard time paying these teachers. 9 months in, oh crap, cash is really bad right now. And then I had to go, when we shut our doors, I had to go lay all these teachers off, and that just felt terrible to me. These people who are already not uh, well paid for their hard work. Here I am laying them off, and so I felt terrible about that, but had no recourse, no other option. So what I've learned from that is, in my other businesses, I have gone in much more conservative. I'm not planning on being a bajillionaire in 2 years. And I've learned to hire slowly, right? I got a little too aggressive in my hiring there. And so
Mm.
from now on,
Yeah.
hire slowly. But I also believe, since I saw those teachers getting laid off and saw the impact it had, I also believe I need to fire even more slowly, right? I need to have some runway there to cover it if if times do get tough. I don't want to be laying people off again.
No, and that's always a balance. I think that there's always, I'll call it naiveness. I don't know if it's really naivete, but there's always a sense of high degree of optimism, I think, for entrepreneurs, because you always see the up all the or most of the upside and little of the downside with all the opportunities. And yet there's always that balance of there isn't that perfect, even if things rarely go perfectly, and if they don't, then you need to be able to be prepared for that. And it's a balance. You
Yeah.
hire too slowly and you can hinder the business. You can lose out on opportunities. You hire too quickly, you can, the first time you hit a speed bump, then you're now not able to support the business. And so it's always that balance, and definitely an easy area to make a mistake, but also a great one to learn from. Second question now that I like to ask is, so now if you're talking to somebody that is just getting into a startup or a small business, what would be the one piece of advice you'd give them?
Okay. So the advice I always give them is there's three areas you need to be spending your time: working in your business, working on your business, and investing. I'm not worried about working in your business, because your desire to live indoors and have food on the table will make you go work in your business. That's going to make you go do what earns your business money, what your clients pay for.
Hmm.
What I tell people is make sure to set aside some time, some focused time on your calendar for the other two, for working on your business and investing. Now, what I mean by that is, like you said, something is always going to happen in every business. You're always going to hit a speed bump. And hopefully, it never gets to the point where the crap's hitting the fan, but it may get there too. So work on your business means, what are those speed bumps I'm going to hit? Take some time and think through what can go wrong in my business and what can I do to prevent it or to mitigate the negative consequences from that.
Hmm.
So set aside some time to work on your business, and then set aside some time to work on investing. Because when you were in a corporate environment, you had the 401k, it was set it and forget it. It just happened. Well, now you've got nobody there holding your hand. It's on you. So what are you doing to, either in the short term, or we could be talking about retirement, what are you doing to get some passive income? Because there's nobody else there, you know, helping you out on that. You're on your own.
No, and I totally agree with that. And I think that one of the things that you learn as a business, it's not that I think there's any greater stability or any greater sense of comfort, but you have a false sense of security when you're working for someone else, because you don't know, you just assume things are going great and money
Yep.
will, or the business will keep going and you'll keep getting paid, and you don't realize it could be anything from lots of money on the account and in the accounts and doing great, to hey, we don't know how we're going to make next payroll, and a lot of times employees don't know. And so, but I think that when you do your own business or you do a startup or that, then you get that greater insight as to how it is going, and it forces you to in that direction of, hey, now I need to plan and I need to get things set aside and I need to make sure that's all taken care of. So I think that's
Yeah.
definitely a great piece of advice. Well, awesome. Well, now as we're kind of wrapping towards the end of the podcast. Always, or if people want to reach out to you, they want to be a customer, they want to be a client, they want to be an employee, they want to be an investor, they want to be your next best friend, any or all of the above. What's the best way to reach out to you, contact you, find out more?
Easiest way is email. It's my name, ben.anderson at the 1099 CPA, THE1099 CPA.com. And I'm, like I said, not a lot of social media. I don't do a lot of those kinds of things. So email will get you there the best.
Awesome. Well, I definitely encourage people to reach out, make a new connection, and support a great business. If nothing else, make a new best friend. So, with that, thank you again, Ben, for coming on the podcast. It's been fun. It's been a pleasure. Now, for all of you that are listeners that are out there, if you have your own journey to share and you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, we'd love to have you. So just go to inventiveguest.com, apply to be on the show. A couple more things as listeners. Make sure to click share, subscribe, leave us a review. Helps us to reach even more startups and small businesses to help them along their journey to success. And on that note, if you ever need help with along your journey with patents or trademarks or anything else, your startup or your small business, feel free to go to strategymeeting.com, grab some time with us to chat, and we're always here to help. Well, thank you again, Ben, for coming on the podcast, and wish the next leg of your journey even better than the last.
All right, thank you.